What is dogma? As atheists become more vocal, we are increasingly being accused of fundamentalism, that our belief in the non-existence of your God is somehow equivalent to your faith in his, her, or its existence. The spectre of Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot, and similar atheists, I'm doing air quotes, is raised to telegraph the terrible dangers lurking were there to be a global pan-faith apostasy. In this video, I seek to point out that atheism is rarely the problem in these situations, but that in fact, mutated and virulent forms of religion are the root cause of all genocidal stupidity. Acknowledgements to Sam Harris for the phrase genocidal stupidity. First, though, it's important to define faith clearly. Notice the key words here: trust, belief, conviction, and loyalty. All of this absent proof. There is no objective evidence for even the most vanilla versions of God, yet theists will claim to know all sorts of details about him or her or it. He hates homosexuals, or she is made up of three persons who are somehow one. All of this must be swallowed without proof. It must be taken on faith. Next, I define atheism, and I must acknowledge at once that the word believe, rendered almost useless by religion, can lead to confusion and require some clarification. Not believing in a random and baseless assertion is exactly how we behave in every area of our lives, with the glaring exception of religion. Humans jump out of planes despite the hair-raising terror involved because an avalanche of evidence ensures survival. A person who had never heard of a parachute and never seen a parachute jump would be very foolish to leap out of an aeroplane on the say-so of a 2,000-year-old document they had read. Not believing in something until evidence is presented is the default position. Atheism is a faith, like bald is a hair color. Finally, we need to define dogma. This is merely an umbrella term under which all forms of slavish adulation reside. Note how it's defined: something held as an established opinion, a point of view or tenet put forth as authoritative without adequate grounds. Jehovah, Stalin, Allah, and Hitler, in fact all tyrannous and abusive systems of control, rely on one form of dogma or another for their survival. The focus of worship is almost irrelevant, because the outcomes are invariably the same. But what are these outcomes? What are the characteristics of dogma? I note 5 key characteristics: true believers, irrational, that is to say to an objective observer, beliefs, a powerful point of focus, heretics, and genocidal stupidity. First of all, let's look at communist dogma in this context. We have true believers in the form of the party. We have many irrational beliefs to choose from. I focus on 2 extreme examples: collectivization and Lysenkoism. Collectivization led to a catastrophic drop in farming productivity and upheaval, particularly severe in the Ukraine. It has been proven that millions died as a result of collectivization. Lysenkoism is a discredited form of genetics. In 1928, a previously unknown agronomist, Trofim Lysenko, invented a new agricultural technique, promising to triple or quadruple yields of wheat. In reality, the technique was neither new nor useful. However, in the compromised intellectual environment of the Soviet Union, Lysenko won all the important political battles. Between 1934 and 1940, he convinced Stalin to arrest, imprison, and execute many of his colleagues. We can see from this remove that Lysenkoism was dangerous nonsense. In fact, it was clear even then, but few dared state the obvious in violation of state dogma. There are disturbing echoes of this disaster in the political promotion of creationism in the US today. We have a powerful point of focus, first in Lenin, later in Stalin, and ultimately in the state. All of an individual's desires, their hopes and dreams, were to be sacrificed on the altar of the state. We have heretics. Trotsky disagreed with Stalin and paid for it with his life. In fact, the great purges of the Bolshevik Party ensured that the ranks were cleared of all who could oppose Stalin, and that ultimately his perspective and his view were to be accepted without question and with mindless and fearful obedience. Finally, we have genocidal stupidity. Combined with Lysenko's ridiculous theories, collectivization caused the deaths from slow starvation of untold millions of men, women, and children. Collectivization was a faith-based initiative. There was no evidence it would work. There was substantial evidence that it might do harm. Yet the Soviet state proceeded anyway. They proceeded on faith. So how does Christian dogma stack up against communism? Well, we have our true believers. I've taken the Catholics as the true believers, given that they are in the majority. We have irrational beliefs, such as the virgin birth, heaven, hell, the Trinity. We have a powerful point of focus in Jehovah, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God as one. We have many heretics. In the early centuries of the Church, you have Gnosticism. Then later, in the 15th and 16th centuries, Martin Luther and all that he represents emerges. In the 19th century, the Mormons. More recently, the Jehovah's Witnesses. And of course, we have genocidal stupidity. We have the Catholic Church's position on contraception, their teaching on AIDS in Africa. We have regular European pogroms, witch burnings, and of course, the Crusades. So Christian dogma and communist dogma fulfill all 5 of our key criteria for irrationality, and they stack up quite neatly alongside each other. How does Islamic dogma compare? We have our true believers in the Sunni. Once again, I've gone with the majority. We have our irrational beliefs, the most spectacular, in my view, being that the Quran is the most wonderful book ever written, and that if you can write something as wonderful as a single verse in the Quran, this would invalidate it. In my mind, a single page of anything written by Carl Sagan gives the lie to that claim. We have the virgin birth of Jesus, we have heaven, and we have hell as additional irrational beliefs. And of course, the heaven and hell idea are concepts that most mainstream monotheistic religions and their offshoots share. We have, of course, a powerful point of focus in Allah, somewhat more consistent, in fairness, than Christianity. We have heretics in the Shia and the Sufis, and a range of obscure sects that most Westerners have never heard of. And of course, we have, as always, genocidal stupidity in the form of the Taliban, the Crusades, and the underreported Muslim conquest of India. I draw all of this together with the example of Japanese emperor worship, or what I call the missing link. The Japanese elevation of the emperor to godhood and their reckless plunge headlong into World War II with absolute faith in the emperor as their standard is the smoking gun that links religion and secular tyranny as equal subsets of dogma. This is the bridge from "I kill for God who is invisible" to "I kill for the state." Because here the genocidal stupidity was on behalf of a God-man, representative of the state. In conclusion, then, religion is merely a subset of dogma. And dogma is the root of all evil. And to deal with dogma, we must insist on some ground rules. All assertions, including religious ones, must be proven beyond reasonable doubt. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Recognize that you reject the claims of all other religions and extreme ideologies because you can objectively see that they are nonsense. You just need to take it one step further and apply those same critical standards to your own religion. Human inhumanity requires people to surrender themselves to someone or something, to do a Nuremberg and thus abdicate their responsibilities to something greater than themselves. What or who that happens to be is almost irrelevant, because the outcomes, persecution, torture, terror, and genocide, are invariably the same.